what is your advice to someone thinking of starting on this journey? You know, probably someone with no home services or franchising experience and maybe like limited access to capital or resources. How would you advise them to like set out on the journey of owning a franchise?
A lot of people do well is just doing their research, understanding, what is it that speaks to you. I mean, Chevonne did a great job of explaining her history of why Mr. Appliance really stood out to her because she had that background. There's something about Mosquito Joe that really, stood out to Neil. I think it's just doing your research, understanding what, you think makes sense, and then asking as many questions as you can, being open-minded, right? Sometimes it's what you didn't think would be for you that actually is for you. So keep an open mind and seek expert advice also. Neighborly, we always say we're not in the business of twisting anyone's arm. We don't win if you do this and you don't want to. So we're here to help you and guide you to a decision that ultimately makes the most sense for you and your family. And so we're here to help give you any tools that you need on that journey. And then, I think it's just from a standpoint of capital. Once you do your research, you're going to know what exactly that requirement is. People are going to be able to give you some, ideas on, to Neil's point earlier, what does it look like from a working capital standpoint? What expenses do I need to be prepared for above and beyond the sale price or the purchase of the territory, right? And having those guidelines will really help you. So I don't think it's ever too early for you to be asking those questions and reaching out so that you have that information. And then, you can kind of, if you need to, take some time to build that up, or we can work with our internal partners, like we've talked about, to help you get a plan together for financing. So that would be my advice.
And I'll just piggyback. I know a lot of the things are going to be, the same, but one thing I will point out to everyone as well is, try not to make it all about an emotional decision in regards to the different concepts that you have, right? Like really make sure you do your due diligence on the viability of the franchise model, the support, looking at the numbers, et cetera. It's a lot of great viable business models out there. And I'm sure Neil could probably, I'm sure he didn't wake up or was as a child like, hey, I want to own a Mosquito Joe. I'm sure, so it's not about, putting so much emotion into it, but really taking the due diligence to see exactly what does that model bring. And even to Chevonne's point, I mean, it may be small in the grand scheme of things of helping that customer have clothes for their son to go off, but that was a big deal for that family. And you're impacting someone in your family. Neil, you're helping people stay outside, right? I have Mosquito Joe that comes to my house. So me and my daughters can swim and do things like that without having to be inconvenienced by mosquitoes. So you are helping people in your community. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. So just making sure you put that in your thought process.
I think kind of piggybacking, I would definitely do the work, talk to the franchisees, and you can find even ones that are not happy. You can find everybody's name, I think, in the FDD with they call it franchise disclosure document. They're online if you look a little bit for free. Yeah, do your due diligence. Try to think about if it's something you really like. If you're married, make sure your spouse or partner is on board, because that's it's a big thing. And go in knowing what to expect. There's a lot of good, and but it's hard. I wouldn't don't expect it to be easy and simple. You'll be working long hours. You'll be days where you're really happy, days like, oh my God, what did I do? But it can also be very rewarding. But I would definitely take your time, do your work. I think the financing is probably more available than you realize. I think there's a way to get financing and figure it out. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's not for everybody, but um, it can be very rewarding.
So just to piggyback off of Neil, there are a lot of programs out there, at least there were the year that I was starting. There were a lot of programs out there to support starting a small business. I like to let people know banks are more like they like an existing business because they can tell that they can see that it had revenue, that it's viable, that it has like some blood flowing through it. With a franchise, it's kind of the same thing. And working with their finance people, they know the models. So it makes it a little bit easier to make it and navigate through that process. Um, I know the social media has like these entrepreneurship is glamorous. It's a lot of work. It's
Mhm.
sleepless nights. It is, you're providing for people's families, right? So people work for you. They depend on their paychecks so that they can pay their rent and eat and all of that stuff. And just as much as they depend on you, you depend on them as well, right? So there's this kind of reciprocity or relationship that's there, and um, it could be your driver, right? So that's why I say, building a great relationship with those people, because I definitely want to see my guys grow. Their growth helps me grow, right? So that's one of the things. Um, when I first opened, I kind of shot out the gate, and coming into the second year, I was like, okay, well, was that a good vendor? Can I cut cost here? Can I cut cost there? How do I make this more profitable?
Mhm.
So one of the things is nothing set in stone, right? So be flexible with yourself. You know what I'm saying? Be forgiving to yourself, right? Because we'll make mistakes, right? So I think that's one of the biggest things, is being gentle with yourself. And you know, how do I want to say? I'm not going to say have realistic expectations, but put everything in perspective properly, right? Know what your big goal is, and then just keep striving towards that. And what they say, if you fall down and you look up, just you're not down unless you stay down. So you look up, you get up, right? So when you have little mistakes that happen, like I said, they're just for a day. It's just for a moment. The next moment, let's correct it. Let's move forward. Um, I always think of process improvement models, and it's just like, that was one draft test. Now we just do another iteration, another round, so we can perfect what we're doing. And if you can look at every day as just a new day, and just kind of dust yourself off, like, I think that um, you can stay motivated and in the game,
Mhm.
right? I think that's one of the biggest things. I do like to look at it like a game. I did play sports, so I got that a little bit but so I'm a little competitive. But yeah, so just look at it like a game. It's like, okay, where do I want to be next year? Am I getting close to it? Am I not getting close to it? How do I need to pull my team into my vision of this so that we can, ride this out and really make this happen? So I would say look into yourself and say, am I a person who wants to guide other people? Am I a person who wants to work alone? Right?
Mhm.
Because some people want to have some type of business where it's really their decisions. They don't have a lot of other influences, like the weight of someone else's life on them when you're their employer. So I would say, do a temperature check for what is your preferred and desired lifestyle within the entrepreneurial journey, because that will have a huge impact on what you should choose as your path if you do want to become a business owner or a small business owner. What that looks like for you. If you're okay not having 6 vacations a year, this might be great for you, right? If you like, okay, like having one or two, or so it's all of these things. And I think that a lot of people just really need to define who they are and what they want their life to look like, and what they're willing to, um I don't want to say sacrifice, because I don't like the word sacrifice, but what are they willing to alter temporarily
Mhm.
to make that happen, right? What adjustments are you willing to make in your current condition that might make you slightly uncomfortable, so that you can build towards the ultimate goal that you have?
Sounds good.